Did Mr. Turner help you in any way in the murder of Jennifer Evans?
No.
Did he assist you?
No.
Did he encourage you to commit murder?
No.
On March 5, 2026, after more than 30 years behind bars, Dustin "Dusty" Turner walked out of a Virginia prison a free man. For 3 decades he had been a prisoner for a murder he did not commit. A murder where the real killer eventually confessed, stating he acted alone. But for Dusty Turner, justice did not come quickly. It came after a lifetime of lost years, built on a theory fueled by the lies of the real perpetrator and a legal system that refused to listen to the truth. June 1995. Virginia Beach. A young college student named Jennifer Evans was on vacation, enjoying her summer. It was a night out that would end in tragedy. At the Bayou nightclub near the ocean front, she met a young Navy SEAL trainee named Dusty Turner. He was celebrating his recent graduation from one of the most grueling military training programs in the world. They got into his car, and that's when everything went wrong. In the back seat was Turner's SEAL swim buddy, Billy Brown. Drunk and enraged over a minor interaction, Brown reached over the seat, put Jennifer in a chokehold, and killed her. In a moment of panic, Turner, bound by a misplaced sense of loyalty, helped Brown dispose of the body.
It makes sense. I mean, it has to make sense. That's what happened. You know what I mean? It's just, that's exactly what happened. My decisions at that point determined my fate.
They dumped her in a park in Newport News. Turner initially lied to police, but the weight of what he witnessed was too much. He failed a lie detector test and confessed everything, leading authorities to Jennifer's body. But when Billy Brown learned that Turner had talked, he turned on his friend. He implicated Turner in the murder to save himself. The prosecution ran with it. They had 2 SEAL trainees, one pointing the finger at the other. The prosecution's case became a theory of abduction. They argued that because Turner was with her, and because the murder occurred during a felony, abduction, Turner was just as guilty under Virginia's felony murder law, even though there was no evidence he participated in the killing. They were sitting there talking, and the next thing you know, I reached up and choked Jennifer, Brown would later confess. I did this on my own, without any prior discussion with Dustin Turner. He did not encourage me in any way. But that confession was more than a decade away. In 1996, separate juries convicted both men. Turner, just 20 years old, was sentenced to 82 years in prison for the murder and abduction of Jennifer Evans. For years, Dusty Turner was just another number, a forgotten inmate. While Billy Brown was behind bars, Turner was in a separate facility, serving a life sentence. Then, in 2002, everything...
Man, I mean, how would you like to stand before the whole world and tell them not only were you a murderer and a liar, but you betrayed your best friend?
Brown, now a born-again Christian, confessed. He admitted he had lied at trial and that he was the sole perpetrator. He sent sworn affidavits to lawyers saying that Dusty had nothing to do with Jennifer's death. This was the smoking gun, the first step in what should have been a swift path to freedom. Turner's lawyers jumped on the new evidence. In 2008, a judge held an evidentiary hearing, heard Brown's testimony, and ruled that Brown was credible. He said Turner had no role in the murder or the abduction. Turner was granted a writ of actual innocence, the first in Virginia based on non-biological evidence. The victim was still alive, and I'm the one that strangled her and took her life, Brown admitted in his testimony. Dusty Turner was in no way involved with any physical interaction with her. It was a monumental victory. It seemed the nightmare was finally over. The conviction was vacated. Dusty Turner, after 12 years, was going to be a free man. But the state of Virginia was not done with him. The Attorney General's office appealed. They argued that even though Turner didn't kill Jennifer, he was still guilty of abducting her. The full Virginia Court of Appeals overturned the lower court's decision. They ruled that the jury could have concluded Turner intended to abduct her. They even created a new legal theory for his conviction: abduction by deception. It was an idea the prosecution had never argued in the original 1996 trial. The fact that Brown now confesses that he acted alone in restraining and choking Evans does not absolve Turner of his guilt, wrote Justice Donald Lemons in the Supreme Court of Virginia's decision. The fight for justice was over. Turner's freedom snatched away in the final moments. The state had decided that a confession wasn't enough. A convicted murderer's word, even one that corroborated Turner's story from the beginning, was not enough to overturn the conviction. The Supreme Court just wanted to finalize the case. The truth was less important than maintaining the conviction. So Dusty Turner was sent back to his cell. He would remain a convicted murderer for the next 15 years. Inside, Turner wasn't just surviving. He was building a life. He became a model prisoner. He became a teacher's aide, tutored other inmates, and earned vocational degrees. He co-founded restorative justice programs and worked to improve the prison system from the inside. He was a man who had been handed a life sentence but refused to let his spirit be broken. But the most poignant detail: when he spoke to the parole board, he expressed profound sorrow for Jennifer Evans and her family, showing remorse for his actions and inactions. He was haunted by the tragedy of her murder. He had lost everything, and yet he still carried the weight of her death on his shoulders. Finally, in 2020, a law was passed. The Fishback Gap ruling made inmates convicted in the late 90s eligible for parole. After a 30-year legal fight for his freedom, which had seen him denied 3 times before, the Virginia Parole Board finally voted 3-2 to grant him parole. On March 5, 2026, he walked out of prison. He was greeted by his mother, his family, and a coalition of supporters who had never stopped fighting for him. They released a statement. Dusty's long overdue release marks a milestone in his fight for justice, following 3 decades of wrongful incarceration driven by a false narrative, ignored evidence, and decisions that prioritized finality over truth. But this was not justice. It was parole. He is a free man, but he is not an innocent man in the eyes of the law. The murder and abduction convictions still stand. The man who admitted to the murder remains in prison, but Turner still carries the burden of a conviction he did not commit. His advocates, including international human rights attorneys, are still fighting for his full exoneration. His case became a rallying cry. An example of how a 20-year-old man's life can be destroyed by a legal system that values finality over truth. He lost more than 30 years of his life. He lost his career, his youth, his family, and his country. He lost the chance to be a Navy SEAL. But after more than 3 decades, he is finally breathing free air. The story of Dusty Turner is not just about a wrongful conviction. It's about a system that failed him, a man who refused to be broken, and a family that never stopped fighting. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay subscribed. We'll see you in the next video.